In the past 15 years, there has been a new segment in the car market that has absolutely exploded. High performance off-road pickup trucks. Currently on sale today, we have the Ford Raptor R, the Ram TRX, although it's in its last model year, the Hummer EV pickup, and the Tesla Cybertruck. On their face, these vehicles are all absolutely ridiculous. They feature far more power than they would ever need, are insanely capable off-road, and in general take up a lot of physical space. They are completely ridiculous, and that is what fascinates me about them. So today we are going to take a trip down memory lane and look at the history of the high-performance pickup truck and figure out how on earth we got to where we are today. To start, we can go back to the very inception of the mass production automobile. From the very early days, there was demand for a rugged vehicle that could haul things around. And these early trucks were extremely utilitarian and mostly used for work opposed to personal transportation. When car culture really began to take off in the 1950s and 1960s here in the US, pickup trucks were certainly included in this trend. We saw a lot of the unique and creative designs that were happening with cars make their way over to pickup trucks, and as technology rapidly improved, pickup trucks got a lot of the creature comforts that were found in normal automobiles. But maybe the most pivotal time for the pickup truck happened in the 1970s. This was a time where the US enacted a strict set of fuel economy, emissions, and safety laws to try to decrease pollution and also decrease reliance on foreign oil. They did this by making it very expensive to own inefficient vehicles. One important note though is that at the time, pickup trucks were still primarily being used for commercial purposes. The businesses that own these trucks were able to successfully lobby the US government to enact a much looser set of regulations that would apply to trucks. Their argument is that it would be way too expensive for them to run their businesses with trucks that had to comply with these new standards. Now, this carve-out did two important things for planting the seeds for the future high-performance pickup trucks we will be talking about momentarily. First, it exponentially increased the demand for light-duty pickup trucks being used for personal transportation because they were essentially being subsidized by not having to comply with these new standards. And it opened the door for some of the very earliest examples of performance pickup trucks because their powertrains were the only type of vehicle that were unencumbered by these new regulations. Now, the first performance pickup truck of note that we are going to talk about was Dodge's Lil Red Express that came out in 1978. It featured a short bed, a single cab, and a 5.9 liter V8 that made 225 horsepower. While that may not sound like a lot, you do have to put it in context where all of the other cars at this time had engines that were being severely restricted while the Lil Red Express's engine was not. And this made it Car and Driver's quickest car of 1978 in the quarter mile with a time of 14.7 seconds. Over the coming decades, all three of the big American auto manufacturers would come out with their own version of a performance pickup truck. GM would release the Chevrolet SS 454 pickup that made 230 horsepower and 385 pound-feet of torque. This vehicle followed the same basic formula as the Lil Red Express. Take the smallest configuration of your light-duty pickup truck and put a big, powerful V8 under the hood. But what's maybe more interesting is that GM also produced the GMC Syclone. Now, admittedly, this truck doesn't really fit into the overall story that I'm telling here about these high-performance pickup trucks getting bigger and more powerful, but it's too cool not to mention. The Syclone was a compact truck that featured a turbo V6, all-wheel drive, and was as quick as a Ferrari 348 of the same model year. Ford was also a participant in these early days of the performance pickup with the F-150 Lightning. Now, this is not like the electric F-150 Lightning that you might be thinking of today. These trucks were powered by some of the most powerful V8 engines in the Ford lineup. The first gen Lightning was produced from 1993 to 1995 and made 240 horsepower out of a 352 cubic inch V8. But my favorite out of the two was the second generation Lightning, which was produced from 1999 to 2004. It had a 5.4 liter supercharged V8 that made 360 horsepower and sent this truck from 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds. And the last of these early performance pickups that we will touch on is the Dodge SRT-10. Now, this is an absolutely ridiculous vehicle, maybe even more so than the TRX. What makes the SR10 unique is that it is powered by the 500 horsepower V10 out of the Dodge Viper. This is really like a concept car that was brought to life. One thing that was working against the Dodge Ram SRT-10 though was fuel economy. It got 9 miles per gallon in the city and up to 12 miles per gallon on the highway. Now to zoom out a little bit, while we were talking through all of these different models and kind of progressing through time, the light-duty pickup truck has become the most popular vehicle segment in the United States. And the F-150 in particular is the best-selling vehicle. The pickup truck has really grown out of its utilitarian roots and is now how the majority of people get around. And the modern pickup truck has all of the creature comforts that you would come to expect in a normal car, and I would even argue some are bordering on luxury car territory. But to focus back in on the performance pickup truck segment, one thing that a lot of the trucks we've been talking about have in common is that they never really became mainstream popular. Most of these models were only produced for a few model years and at most maybe had a few thousand units produced. But the company that would change all of that would be Ford, who in 2010 came out with the Raptor. Now, the F-150 Raptor didn't disrupt the high-performance pickup truck market by being more powerful than all the vehicles that came before it. Its big differentiator was that it was highly capable off-road. And we can say now, looking back pretty confidently, that off-road capability was the missing ingredient that would explode the popularity of the high-performance pickup truck. Now, the Ford Raptor certainly wasn't low on power. It came standard with a 5.4-liter V8 that made 320 horsepower, or it had an optional 6.2-liter V8 that made around 410 horsepower. And I would argue that that 6.2-liter V8 provides all the power that you would ever need to maximize this truck's capabilities off-road. In 2017, Ford came out with the second generation of the Raptor. While the Raptor got even more capable off-road and got an even more powerful engine, it wasn't the right engine to keep the market satiated. At the time, Ford was making a big push for its EcoBoost line of engines. These were downsized turbo V6s that they were putting into the F-150, so it would only make sense for their flagship truck, the F-150 Raptor, to feature an EcoBoost engine. But that is where they left the door open for the Ram TRX. The TRX came out for the 2021 model year, and it is really where things start to go off the rails. For the past decade, Ford had proven there is demand for a performance off-road pickup truck. At the same time, Stellantis, Dodge's parent company, was trying to put the Hellcat engine in anything they could imagine, and it created the perfect storm for the Ram TRX to be born. If you've been living under a rock, the TRX uses the Hellcat engine, a 6.2-liter supercharged V8 that makes over 700 horsepower. But it's not like they took that engine and slapped it into a normal Ram 1500. There are substantial upgrades made all around the truck, like chassis reinforcements, off-road suspension, bigger wheels and tires. Now, not to be outdone, Ford launched the Raptor R in 2022 as a direct competitor to the Ram TRX. It was even more capable than the standard Raptor off-road and now featured Ford's own supercharged V8. I want to take a moment to just emphasize how excessive these vehicles are. They have capabilities that probably 95% of owners will never even come close to scratching the surface of. Now, I like sports cars. You could make the same argument about something like a GT3 RS, that most people will never be able to reach the heights of what that car is capable of. But that performance in a sports car comes at a much lower cost in terms of things like fuel economy or just the amount of space that vehicle is taking up. These high-performance pickup trucks are uniquely so excessive and wasteful but I can't stop being fascinated with them. Now, as fuel economy and emission standards here in the US continue to get stricter and stricter, you might be thinking that these vehicles are kind of like a last hurrah for the gas-powered pickup. But I am not sure that's the case, because even in the electric vehicle market, we already have two examples of these high-performance pickup trucks. They are the GMC Hummer EV pickup and the Tesla Cybertruck. While these trucks swap the V8 engines for battery packs, the same basic formula holds true. A massive vehicle with a ton of capability, a ton of power, and the ability to grab people's attention. I think it is safe to say that the high-performance pickup truck is here to stay.